you hate the thought of working past 55 or 60? Do you hate not being able to live the life you deserve today? Do you hate not knowing what your financial future looks like? It's time to stop doing what you hate. Here's your host, Mr. Harold Green.
Aloha, everybody. This is Harold Green of Brightree Financial Group, and it's time to stop doing what you hate. I hope you are having a fantastic day as always, and looking forward to sharing with you as always today's show titled When to Quit. That's right, when to quit, when to hang it up, when to stop, when to change, when to do something different. And before I get into the show, I want to kind of tell you where I'm at right now. I'm sitting out at the beach in Hawaii, not actually sitting outside. I'm sitting in my car at the beach, looking at the waves, looking at the ocean, in a spot that I go to when I'm feeling extremely blessed, or when I'm feeling extremely challenged and I have to make some major decisions. And sometimes I'm out here at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4:30, whenever, before anybody gets up, and just sitting out here praying and asking God for direction, seeking God for what to do, because I really want to make sure that I'm on the right track. And so I know a lot of you have thought about quitting something in the past. There have been times where you've wanted to give up, when you wanted to do something different. And I want to talk to you about quitting. But first of all, I'm going to ask you, how do you feel today? How do you feel right now? Think about how you're feeling right now. What is it that you're dealing with? What is it that's making you uncomfortable, making you miserable, making you happy, making you sad? Just kind of think about it for a second. How do you feel right now? All right. So are you ready to get into this show? Let's do it. 1, 2, 3. Let's get it. Now, quitting is not necessarily a bad thing. I want to talk to you about my pathway of quitting and all the things that I've kind of quit in the past. And at one point, I thought I was doomed to failure for the rest of my life. I thought I had the quitter gene, or the failure gene, because everything I did, I played football, basketball, wrestling, track. I was in music. I played 3 different instruments. And to be honest with you, I quit all of that. I quit all of it. And my coaches are like, Green, you're the biggest quitter I know. You're the biggest quitter. You quit everything. And I'll be honest with you, I had a short temper when it came to putting up with stuff that I didn't think was necessary. When I was in the military, I dealt with a lot of bull crap. And it was like, this is stupid. This is not why I joined the military. I feel like I was sold a bill of goods. This is not what you guys promised me. This is different. And so I quit. When, I worked in restaurants and it was stupid, I quit. I had jobs as a security guard, and I'm out there at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning dealing with drunks, and, it's cold. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing? So I quit. I was working with a company that got into trouble, and it was so bad that I ended up having to quit. When I worked at the home office of a life insurance company here in Hawaii, I didn't like the direction that my career was going, so I quit. Quitting is not necessarily a bad thing. I basically quit hanging around people that didn't push me higher, people that were always trying to drag me down. I quit trying to be right all of the time. I quit giving my clients advice that was not, always in their best interest. I quit creating financial plans that were one-dimensional. I quit college, and I'll talk to you about those things. I quit college for a variety of different reasons. I quit wasting time sitting in the cheap gas line. Everybody's like, yo, the gas is cheap at Costco. It's $1 less. And I'm like, bro, how long do you sit in that line at Costco waiting on the cheap gas when you can go to Chevron or Shell or whatever and pay maybe $1 more depending on the kind of gas you put in your car, be out of there in 5 minutes versus waiting 20 minutes in the line at Costco? If you look at your time value and what your time is worth, maybe that's something you need to quit. You might make more money, 10 times more money in that same amount of time, buying the expensive gas and then investing your time doing something different. But I don't know if I really quit. I think maybe I did something different instead of quitting. I think it's called something different. I'll get into that. But let's go back to check on you. How are you feeling right now? The reason why I'm asking you that question is because this morning somebody said to me, they love to talk to me, and it was just out early, and they're out there early, and so we run into each other, and I say, sorry, I got to go record a show. And then he's like, what kind of show? And I said, I record my own podcast show and things like that. And they said, what do you talk about? They're going to tell him what I talk about, and finances and different things like that. And he's like, do you ever get into politics? And I said, no, not really, because I don't care how people vote. Basically, my thing is to tell you how your decisions will affect your money, and then you can take it from there. And he's like, do you ever fear alienating people and making them feel bad? And I'm like, I don't really work with the people that are all caught up in their feelings all the time and constantly getting offended, at one thing or the other that I say, because although I do care about how my clients feel, and I'm not trying to make them feel bad, but if they're taking my advice seriously, they'll understand if they make the right choices with their money, they're going to feel great all the time because they're making the right decisions. Nobody's sitting here saying, Harold, don't say this, don't say that, because it makes me feel bad. No, they want me to perform and to do the best that I can with their portfolios. We're not talking about alienating anyone, but how do you feel right now? I hope you're feeling great. So let's get back to this quitting business. When are some times you should think about quitting? Number one, I'll say when things are no longer serving you, when the things that you are doing are no longer serving you, they're no longer in your best interest, either short-term or long-term, you got to think about hanging that up. What are some other times you should think about quitting? And this is a big one. It's when you or your talents or your resources are being misused, they're being abused, they're being wasted. When people are wasting your time, when relationships are wasting your time, they're causing you problems, man, you got to think about hanging that up. Some other times you should think about quitting, probably when you're mentally exhausted. I've heard it said before, and people probably didn't like this guy, but when he was on The Apprentice show on NBC, when they loved him, he said something. I used to watch that show all the time because I was just intrigued by, people trying to be successful and make things, happen in life. And he said, look, if you ain't got it today, quit, go home, get it, and bring it back tomorrow versus, causing a problem. So when you're mentally exhausted, you got to think about hanging it up for a while and getting yourself back on track. Some other times you should think about quitting. It's when the action you're taking will lead to maybe some lasting, devastating consequences for yourself or for others. Like, you're doing something and you're going to hurt yourself, or you're going to hurt somebody else. You got to think about hanging that up. And there are several instances where the things that I was doing, once I put everything in perspective, it was kind of like the blind leading the blind. Harold, you can't be the blind leading the blind. You got to stop that and do something different. I'll give you an example. You should quit when you realize you're going the wrong way. Now, a lot of times when people are going the wrong way, they don't know it because there is no sign that says wrong way. Proverbs talks about a man plans things in his mind, but orderly thinking and going the right way is from the Lord. That's what Proverbs talks about. You have to understand like the direction that you think you're going. And there is a way that seems right to a man, but the end of it, it's not good. And I've been on the wrong end of that, where I thought, man, I'm doing the right thing, and it ended up in failure. Sometimes we get warning signs and we get red flags, but sometimes we blow right through that stuff. We get stop signs and it says, hey, think about what you're doing, and just blow right through that. I know what I'm doing. I got this. I'm in control here. Boom, you end up crashing and burning. And another time you should think about quitting is probably when you're out of balance. And I was sharing with a client that I'm thinking about not working on the weekends anymore because, I'm working 6 days a week. I'm up early in the morning, and by the time 7 o'clock comes around, I've probably worked 3 or 4 hours already, depending on when I got up. But I haven't been balancing out that hard work with some hard play, like maybe playing more golf. So I decided to, take Fridays with a client and play some golf on Fridays. and try to get out once a week or maybe twice a week and walk the course and, to play some golf, just to bring things back into, because, bring things back into balance. Because he was telling me, he said, look, if you're out of balance, Harold, you can't serve us the way that you need to as clients. You can't be as effective as you need to be without getting yourself in balance. And so I'm working more to bring myself into the balance. Now, another time you should think about quitting is when the thing that you're doing is causing you health problems. You got to think about quitting before your health starts to fail. But if your health is failing and you constantly do the same thing and it's causing you more and more health issues, it's probably time to quit. Another time to think about quitting is when your financial plan isn't working the way you want it to work. When you can't take vacation when you want to. You can't figure out how to send your kids to the college that they need to go to. When you can't figure out whether or not you're going to retire and have all the money you're ever going to need for the rest of your life. When you can't buy the car that you want because you're so afraid of spending the money, you probably got to think about quitting that financial plan and putting another one in place. When you feel that your advisor is not giving you advice that's in your absolute best interest, you might need to think about quitting. There are lots of times when you probably should think about quitting. So I'm going to give you your assignment for the week. But before I do, I want to get into the correct phase because I don't think it's necessarily called quitting. There's a word I like to use. It's called pivoting. I didn't quit any of these things. I stopped doing them and I started doing something else. It's called a pivot. I pivoted from certain things. I pivoted from the restaurant business and got into financial planning services. I pivoted from working in the life insurance company and starting my own business. I pivoted from having partners to being independent. I pivoted from a lot of different things and I created the rapid retire planning process, which helps people get in position to retire 7 to 10 years sooner than they normally would. I didn't quit. I just pivoted and I started doing something different. So here's your task for the upcoming weekend. I want you to sit down and I want you to write out a start, stop, T-chart. So draw a line across the paper and then in the middle of that, draw 2 lines, creating a small space or a gap in the middle. On the left-hand side, you write stop, and then on the right-hand side, you write start. And here's what I want you to do. In the middle, in this gap, I want you to call that your gap week. And on the left-hand side, I want you to write down the things that you think you should stop. And then on the left-hand side, write down the things you should stop. And then on the right-hand side, write the pivot or the thing that you would do to replace the thing that you stopped. So that's your stop, start chart. And whatever it might be, I have mine and there's some adjustments I need to make this week for my training and then for my, my eating. But I need to make that stop, start chart and have that be a constant part of my life. And give yourself a week to kind of think about this stuff. Think about what you're doing right now that you want to stop. Think about why you want to stop it. Why is it not in your best interest anymore to stop doing this stuff and then start doing something different? Now, you should probably talk to somebody about this, right? Your spouse, a good friend, and then analyze this thing out, right? Because sometimes you can stop doing the right thing at the wrong time. Sometimes you're 3 feet away from gold. Sometimes you're, one more deal away from breaking things open. Sometimes you're just one more decision away from having everything you've ever wanted in your life, but you quit at the wrong time. That's why I want you to take some time and think about this stuff, talk to some people about it, and then make your decision and then make a solid decision. And that's pretty much all I have for you is there are times when you need to quit and think about what you are doing, whether or not it's serving you. Okay. And if your financial plan isn't working the way you want to talk to somebody about it, make sure you're doing the right thing. Call me up, click in the show notes and look at my calendar, get on my calendar for a free assessment, right? Or a free consultation. And I'll talk to you about your situation for free. And then if you want me to assess it and then give you my opinion and give you some direction on where you should go next, that's going to cost you $375 an hour to be able to do that. But again, there are some times that you should think about quitting. And when you and I meet, we're going to talk about this stuff. We're going to look at where you are today and what you might need to stop doing in order to get to where you want to be. Maybe you're taking advice from the wrong people. Maybe you're buying the wrong investments. Maybe there's something that you need to change. Maybe you're going the wrong way and you just don't know it yet. Okay. And if you're having a hard time, like trying to hire a planner or trying to hire an advisor, I'm gonna put it out there. A lot of people can study investments and they can do good. They can do okay. But don't you have something better to do? Like don't you have like a family, friends to hang out with? Isn't there something you can do better with your time instead of trying to figure out how to beat the market and how to be your own guru and things like that? Now, if you're good at it, great, but I want to challenge you, because all of my clients who have had that happen to them in the past and they brought me on board, I would say 95% of them have never regretted. And the 5% that did regret it, probably because they didn't do everything they were supposed to do and they were listening to the wrong people outside of my advice, which sometimes do happen, but think about it. Click in the show notes, get on my calendar. Let's get something started now. Let's stop doing the things that you hate. Let's stop the things that are happening in your plan that are no longer serving you. And let's start doing some things that are going to make a lasting impact, a great lasting impact 10, 20, 30 years down the road, and hopefully immediately. So thanks for letting me rant and rave at you guys today, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, everybody, 1, 2, 3, let's get it.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.